people coming on right on. We got Moto down here. All right, cool. We got people. We got all kind of cameras on. So 3, 2, 1. We are live down here. Right on, Jed. What we got going on, brother?
What's going on, Old School? It's always good to see you, brother.
Oh, right. Always good to see you too, man. You know me. I've had 2 cups of coffee. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go.
All hyped and super psyched.
You know,
yes, sir.
yeah,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I've had.
And what was that address you said we were at again?
We're at 1016 North Walker.
Nice. And hey, guys, no, we're down here doing Thunder Day. It's a rally. There's a game tonight. Last couple of weeks, 837. Free pizza for everyone coming by today.
I did not know about that.
Yeah, and look, there is an oven-fired pizza here, and I mean, they're going to be sitting there.
Brick-fired oven.
Brick-fired oven.
That's some good shit.
Yeah. So anyone coming out today, you know what I'm saying? Stop on by, so on and so forth, gathering signatures and all that. But anyway.
Okay, what we're doing down here is we're doing this kind of location that people can come down for Thunder Up Day because they're going to get a game coming up.
Yep.
People can come by here. They can sign a petition. They can talk to us. I'm going to be down here till about noon or so.
Mm-hmm.
You can come by, talk to us. You can talk to Jed. We're going to talk about the other locations that we're going to have the petitions at, which you can go by and sign those also, right?
Right. And I mean, for anyone around the state, remember, you can go to ORCA4OK.com, and we've got a statewide location map, over 500 locations on there. It's an interactive map.
Okay, now I've went to that. Now, when you go to that, okay, what is it? ORCA4OK.com.
Yes.
Okay, you go down there, you hit that. It brings up the donation map.
Uh-huh.
Now, you go up to the right-hand, don't look at the left-hand side of the X. Go up to the right-hand side, and there's an X up there. You click on the donation X, and that will close that out, and that will bring up the interactive map.
Yep. The donation deal is the pop-up that, of course, I mean, come on, guys, it's a website. Yeah. So we got our pop-up, asking for dollars, some cool promotions there. You ought to take a look at them. But all you got to do is just X that out, and then the map.
On the upper right-hand side.
On the upper right-hand side, and then the
for that out.
Yeah, and it's a little more difficult on a phone likely than a well, I mean, at the end of the day, drives to get things done take dollars. And that's one cool thing. I shout out to Harvard Labs on this deal. You know, the sponsorships and such that we did on that, $250 sponsorship, 2 free COAs, full panel tests. That's like a $450 value for a ticket in. $250 to the cause here. You know what I'm saying? Love to
have people coming up and doing it too.
Yeah, and that's what that pop-up is for right out the gate, you know. So that's what we've been doing for sponsorship on this deal. You know, it's great to have watch community helping out and chipping in.
This is a grassroots movement. You know, it's us. It's not a bunch of people throwing money on top of it.
Well, and that's the thing. When we go back to petition drives like in this past with 788, which you're a huge part of. That was the first time in state history that a all volunteer group, not paid gatherers, had been able to get a state question on the ballot.
Right.
It was the first time that had happened. Now, that was a statutory measure, and 837 is a constitutional, which means that it takes twice as much to get that. So that's the thing. It is a true grassroots effort. Cannabis is the only community in Oklahoma that has even done this in state history before.
Oh, yeah.
And now we're just going for GOAT status.
The state and the law enforcement has been coming out with tons of reefer madness propaganda against us.
Yep.
I've been noticing that in newspapers and on televisions and also Donnie Anderson went to the Capitol, D.C., and talked to Congress about Oklahoma and a bunch of our rogue plants we got here. Now, in my opinion, he's going up there asking for federal task force money. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and that's what you see agency directors do a lot, is go and make their case for why their agency needs dollars. You've always got the agencies or, fighting for that.
Yeah, that's why we can go back to history. History, every 4 years, back in the day, it was hard to get weed or cannabis because it was a presidential election year. They were coming down. Now, cannabis has always been an easy bust because of the smell, the bulk, and everything like that. Well, we've taken care of that. now they want to just come up with all kinds of different. We've got the new DUI laws here too.
Yeah, we do. But that's what's discouraging about some of the things that we see, and really just, I mean, it's a damn shame that we see coming from our regulators when they'll go and and that's what reefer madness is. It's just over the top. That can't even possibly be right. And our OBN director stated that we have basically $153 billion annually of missing marijuana in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
To put that in perspective, if that was true, that would make us the second largest agricultural producer in the world, second only behind the rest of the United States. Okay. That much weed by volume, physical volume, is 75 football fields stacked 20 foot high. Where it, I mean, right.
Where is
and
it?
I think the last thing I saw something that the current domestic market, national market for marijuana is 20 billion.
Right.
Okay. The estimated global demand is something like 80. We're producing twice as much as what supplies the whole world in a year. If that is true, anyone who does a budget, any lawmakers for the state of Oklahoma, you definitely want to be voting for 837 because in that scenario, it'll be about $6 billion a year in revenue to the state of Oklahoma if we do that. Now, that would double what we have right now.
Yeah.
You get the drift of it. It's just discouraging when they just make shit up.
Another oil boom.
Right.
They just don't understand how to do it.
Well, and what was interesting? I was looking at the GDP data for the state of Oklahoma since 2018.
Right.
Right. And you see kind of this steady rate of growth over the prior 20 years. And then 2018, 2019 goes, and then COVID hits and it kind of flatlines. And then after that, it takes off at double the rate at what it was before 788. You see what I'm saying? So it's like it doesn't, it's not a J curve, but you can see during that time frame what happened when literally billions of dollars of investment went into everything from electrical infrastructure, building. I mean, all of those dollars that were invested into these businesses here.
And those dollars, like you're talking about, food, clothes, housing, everything.
Absolutely. It within the first year and a half, to hear it from the state labor department, we created 35,000 jobs in Oklahoma within a year and a half. And those were good paying jobs, And as a matter of fact, and maybe this is why the chamber and others aren't fans of what we did there, is that at the time, your average Walmart job was $10 an hour.
Right.
Okay. So, and a lot of food service was. So all of a sudden we, create 35,000 jobs that are paying $15 an hour or more at the time. And, you got a lot of folks from the service industry, go into, right. Exactly. So, I mean, it in a lot of ways, even like especially down in Norman, that sales tax on medical marijuana helped save some city budgets during COVID.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, this thing has had and it's what they don't talk about, and they don't want to talk about, is what the real numbers are and how this was the first net positive revenue
what
program.
They can do, they take statistics, and I love statistics because I can have them go any way I want to, and they'll put the statistics out there, and I go, dude, look at it the other way,
Right.
And it's so easy.
Right. And that's the deal. Is it's a lot of times it's like that supply and demand study they did. Right. It's a search for data to support bad policy.
Yep.
It's we've got this oversupply. Yeah, we do. It's completely unregulated, and it's sold everywhere but a dispensary.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
and that's what they're saying. But it's really, now I do not buy any street drugs at all anymore. I don't buy on the street, and I do not recommend anybody else buying on the street either, because you cannot tell what is in it. I want tested products. I want to know what's in my product.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, if it's being sold outside of a dispensary, odds are especially if you see labeling that is from another state.
Yeah.
Those are bad batches. Those are products that were rejected because there was something inherently
Something in there
wrong
wrong,
with
yeah.
it, right?
Or they would have sold it in that state. You
Right.
bet.
I mean, like when you see carts and shit coming from Cali still,
Right.
okay, when you see those out and around, you're like, hold on, they can't be cheaper than what we get them for here in Oklahoma.
Because you
Right?
got the
No,
making and
right.
transportation, yeah.
Well, and I mean, even just with their regulations and what they sell them for,
Exactly, yeah.
you know, cost of production's a little different.
Mhm.
But so, you know, how would there be any advantage? Well, if you can't put them into the market because they failed testing.
If you can't sell them in California illegally, why do you think you can bring them to Oklahoma and sell them illegally? You know, I
Right.
mean, golly, you know, duh.
Right. And that's the big thing. And with 837, that's one of the big pushes on it is not only just streamlining things and addressing them for what they are,
Right.
you know, but after we lock in our medical program to the Constitution, which of course it's not now, and that's why
Right,
we've had
it's
such a hard
statutory, yeah.
time, right? That's what it is. I mean, we're lining out consumer safety. You know, the first 4 pages of it is basically all individual rights and freedoms, and we do enough with the industry to implement it in a way that doesn't, you know, harm access, turn the products different, create a separate market, any of that crap. But,
They really, a lot of people had a lot of input on 837 because they would send me messages, they would call me and stuff, and I'd call Jed. And it was really cool because Jed, okay, man, someone's really upset about this, you know, yada, yada. You know, okay, John, I already got that in there. And cool.
Yeah.
I loved it, man. Cool.
yeah, well, and that was one thing, and that was what was, it's a real interesting process that we've been through because you remember about 3.5 years ago or so, we did state questions 818 and 819.
819, yeah.
And that's where we had, you know, one was for medical, one was for rec.
Mm-hmm.
Now they were built to pull in together.
Yep.
So that there wouldn't be, you know, split licensure, but it was still 2 much larger measures.
Right.
And so what we did with 830, and when we did that, that was a 6-month process. You know,
That was a process.
I
yeah.
floated out a couple of outlines for both, said, hey, I bet we're 85% of the way there because we're all advocates, we're all working,
Right,
we're all
right,
generally
yep.
on the same page, you know.
Yep.
And so threw that out there, but then it was a 6-month process to get input from everyone. Hell, I was calling agencies, lawmakers,
Everybody,
you
yeah.
know, everyone get your 2 cents in, and we did that. So with 837, what we were able to do was what I did to begin with was just took the 2 of them and brought them together,
Right on.
slimmed it down
Mm-hmm.
to hit the very core tenets of what we need to do. And then we threw it out there, got input for about 3 months on it because we were already so far advanced. It's like, okay, what, you know, little tweak here, little tweak there. Yeah. And there we go.
There we go.
You know, I mean, when I go out there and, you know, I wind up having to be in front of the press cameras and everything, and I tell them, this is a program that is by Oklahomans for Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
That is real.
Right on.
It's just as real as over 500 locations across the state that are helping gather signatures, as well as people, and that's all grassroots.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this isn't an out-of-state group looking to push a deal where they're coming in with $2 million,
Right.
and, you know, going to buy, you know, do what they need to do, be able to pay people. I'd love to be able to. I would love to be able to stimulate the local economy by doing that, but that's not how this group rolls. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, but the good news is, and I'm grateful for this, is that we have been able to get what we need. And from the get-go on this deal, you know, in the first week, we were able to get enough paper out across the state for 270,000 signatures. That's been out there like 75 days now.
Right.
Need 173. We return that 270. And even if we get some thrown out, we are good.
There you go.
And so we were able to, and I'm grateful for this and all the folks, you know, that helped out in the first week. And so the people have the power and have had the power, and that's where had some questions early on, got those answered, letting folks know, what this does to save our medical program, and so now, so we've got that, but again, this isn't, especially with a lot of the strain that the industry's under right now. It's kind of like this, and this is why. This is why we are very much in the game.
Right.
And
Well,
so
I want to say too that again, I'm sorry that I haven't been able to help as much as I want to. Like before you wonder, but it's my health. What can I say? But I've helped as much as I can. We can only do as much as we can.
well, and here's the thing. And shout out to Debbie Wood.
Oh yeah,
And shout out to the other OGs.
And
To all the folks that we've lost. Okay.
It weighs on me so much. We've lost so many people.
At the end of the day, though, and this goes from myself. That's what I told myself walking into this. I know what I'm walking into on this deal. I did it anyway, right? And the thing is that it is not for us. It's not for look. We got us here. And I don't go and beat folks down on that. There's no sense of entitlement or righteousness, because we did what we did for the love of our people and for the love of the planet. Right? And so we did that because we did that, just like some of us are doing 837 for the same damn thing. Yeah. It's freedom. Freedom for a God-given plan, fundamentally.
Freedom.
Right. So the thing is that yourself, others, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate you being here today, talking about it, and, just helping do what everyone does. Look, the numbers are there.
Right on.
The numbers are there. Say 500 locations picking up 6 signatures a day for the next 10 days is 30,000 signatures. Is that right? Something like that. Yeah. So the 2. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to do math this early. I probably fucked it up. Anyway, but the point is that, even folks that haven't been able to be as engaged, just everyone in symphony.
There you go.
Okay. Put it in the last, couple of weeks here. We got to get all the returns back to Oklahoma City by November 1st. And one thing that folks need to know is that we've got the state cut up into about 20 different routes. We're gearing up. We're getting our drivers ready. If folks want to help out, hit up. But we've got basically turfs.
Right.
And so we're looking to run those routes within 2 days. Cool. And so what that lets us do, it gives everyone kind of the maximum time. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma City, Tulsa, some areas, we're going to start even picking up completes this week and next week.
One more week of signatures. We got basically until Halloween.
We have until Halloween. What we want is all signatures returned to Oklahoma City by November 1st. November 1st, that weekend, there will still be some opportunities here in Oklahoma County like what we're doing now. So we're going to look to maintain this public presence. We might wind up that weekend in Oklahoma County knocking out another 1,000 or 2,000 signatures if we got a bunch of folks help canvass. So
I never thought it would be legal in my lifetime.
Right.
The last 10 years have just been a dream to me. I want to thank everybody that supported 788 and got it through. We were doing 837 for our children and our grandchildren because this is a constitutional amendment. And this protects us. This protects our home grow. Freedom of the home grow. You know how I am on the home grow, so right on with that. And it protects all that. It's all about freedom to me. That's what it says.
That's it. I mean, that's just getting us back right from a prohibition that's been.
I got to take a smoke break.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's.
We're taking 1016 North Walker. Going to be down here all day. Come down, say hi, talk to us, all right?
All right.
That's it. I'd like to hear it. 3, 2, 1, live, live, live. We're live again. We're mic'd up. We're good to go. You should be able to hear me on mine. You should be able to hear me on that. Should be able to hear me on Moto. Everybody should be able to hear. Okay, what we want to cover right now is we've been talking about 837.
Right.
State question 837. Now, that's recreational here in Oklahoma.
Yep.
Now, if you go into a dispensary, you do not have to have a cannabis card to sign 837.
No.
Yeah,
No.
we're having it. It's not back there. We're usually not back there with the products, but you can ask the dispensary people if where 837 is, and they'll bring it out to you right on.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's exactly right. You know, you can walk in and be like, "Yo, I just need to sign 837," and they've got it. They can get it to you. A lot of them have got it up front before you, where you check in, before you even go into the restricted area. So perfectly legal. Walk in, sign 837, even if you don't have a med card. Yep.
Now, again, we're down here at 1016 North Walker.
Yep.
We're down here. We're having a major sign-in today. If anybody wants to come down here and sign, we're down here. We're going to be down here all day.
Yep.
We're going to have, we've got free pizza if you want to come down here and get some free pizza. I've got to get some pizza here in a minute. We're going to have other locations where people can go and sign too, right?
Yeah. No, we're going to be setting up. There's a basketball game tonight. First home game of the season. First game of the NBA season.
Right.
OKC versus Houston Rockets.
The OKC Thunder champions.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Our world champion Thunder against the Houston Rockets. Now, everyone might remember the Slim Reaper, Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
He's actually playing for Houston now, so Durantula gets to come back, and he can watch us be crowned champions.
That's a bang right there.
It'll be good stuff.
That's a great burn.
Yeah, it'll be good. You know, we've got and we'll know. I don't know it off the top of my head, but we do have a couple of locations we're going to set up over this afternoon.
Right.
And we'll be gathering signatures. And these are areas where we've got friendly locations. We're going to have a pop-up out there, gathering signatures, working to catch a lot of that traffic flow foot traffic into the game. I believe there's another one, maybe 2 home games after this. So we'll kind of key on those, maybe even run a repeat, but we definitely want to do that. And again, here's the thing, even for folks that can't be down here today, this is what it's all about. It's not just about being in the dispos. Get out. You can take those petitions with you. Go get some signatures,
Carry with you everywhere. If you go to a party or something, that's what I was doing. I used to carry that petition with me everywhere I'd go in restaurants. I'd put it down there on the table, and people asked me about it. I'd verify they were voters, and I'd sign it right there. You bet.
That's it. I mean, it's just like growing a plant. You get out of it what you put into it.
That's it.
I mean, there's so much potential out there. You just got to go out there and get some. And again, like we talked about, the paper's been out there.
Yeah. We just got to get people in.
Right. That's it. So if you've still got blanks in front of you, remember there's 9 per sheet. You can knock out one a day. And still mess around and pick up 100, 200, 300 signatures. You catch an event like we're doing tonight.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal to go in there 50 or 100 people,
And, I got this volunteer shirt from Anthony, and that's what I was doing, is walking around in these shirts and my hats. Now, you see the back of it. I'm wearing a microphone there, but a lot of people talk to me about these shirts just because I'm wearing these shirts,
Yeah, and we've actually got free T-shirts down here today.
Now, they're not customized with those.
I buried the lead, but we have got some wonderful T-shirts. So when you're out and about talking to folks, you're your own billboard. It's good stuff.
It is, and again, it's a great conversation starter, because I've been in restaurants and stuff and had people that were really anti, and they were trying to shame me, talking to me about it. They thought they didn't know. I was okay, right on. I'll talk to you about cannabis right now, brother. It freaked them out.
Oh yeah. Oh, those are my favorite.
I love them.
Those are my favorite because of course it's me, and they don't have any idea what they're stepping into with that. But yeah, I'm like, well, we're actually more serious about consumer safety than the state is. What? Oh, and
Yeah.
then we start talking about it, and we start talking about the good work the Patients for Safe Access and others
Right,
have done,
yep.
and how we have made the folks aware of a lot of bullshit that's going on because, again, we're medical card holders.
Yep.
Okay, we're patients. I mean, primarily, I consume to take care. Cured my own skin cancers with the stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I'm off a lot of drugs. I'm one of them people off a lot of drugs because if I was on the drugs I used to be legally prescribed, I'd be blah, 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 blah. I couldn't talk. I couldn't hold a conversation.
Well, here's the deal. The way I look at it, 100 years ago, they took our medicine and gave us drugs.
Yeah.
And I want my damn medicine back. I want my God-given plant back. And I want the freedom to do it without having to go ask for permission to do so.
And
it's that damn simple.
The drug companies, they are always going into Africa, different places like that, trying to find new drugs. We got one for you right here. Just research it and find out what all you do.
Like if they just got half serious with cannabis.
Exactly, yeah.
Especially when you get into your things, it's not the THC, that's the CBN, all of those naturally occurring cannabinoids.
Yep.
And even, they're just starting to figure out some of the different flavonoids in it and what those things do. They've got, they're finding very specific, highly desirable versions of flavonoids that they know do good stuff. And they're like, oh shit, that naturally occurs in cannabis.
Yeah. Duh.
Well, it's say, man? Yeah. Well, and all we can say is sign 837. That's the deal. That is the thing about this is that this isn't really a persuasion campaign. No. We know that we've got over 700,000 Oklahomans that are consuming at least once a month.
Oh, yeah.
It's that simple, so we've got the votes. We just got to get out and make sure we reach out to folks and get them to show up.
That's it.
That's it.
And this isn't going to be an off election like it was for 788 was. This will be in a major election. So a lot of people will be able to get out and put that vote in.
Well, and that's what was really interesting about 788. That was in a midterm primary.
Yeah.
And the historical average of turnout for a midterm primary is around 450,000 folks.
Right.
Okay. That day, about 850,000 showed up.
And that's what I liked about your statistic.
788.
Because some precincts in Norman, only like 2 or 3 people showed up. So it's 100% yes vote. There's your statistics right there. 3 people showed up, 3 people, 100% yes. All right, bro, you go, Norman. I love that.
Oh yeah. No, Cleveland County went hard.
We did good in Cleveland County.
I think by percentage may have actually been the #1 county slightly.
Well, I live down there, so.
Well, you put in the work, you can't argue the results, right?
I had 3 places that I went to, and plus, we had a lot of other places down there, people working really hard. They were just going for it. I was very impressed.
Yeah. No, it's really encouraging to see, I got asked by the press last week, well, how's it going? And I'm like, look, guys, let me explain a tale of 2 campaigns. Okay. What you're used to seeing with an effort like this, where you got, $1.5 million, $2 million dedicated to gathering the signatures. And so when people are getting paid $2 to $5 a signature, they're going to go out, they're going to gather signatures all day, and then they're getting back to the office that day and getting paid out.
There you go.
Based on that count. And so that count is a part of the system that's a payroll system.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're able to say, we've got this many this day, this many this day, and keep that constant count. Now, with an all-volunteer decentralized effort, and those paid campaigns, that's happening in OKC and Tulsa.
Yeah.
So logistics are easy, right? So with a all-volunteer decentralized effort that is spread out across the entire state, the most efficient thing to do is to get everyone the paper in their hands, help them out, answer questions, go from there,
Well, to show the support that cannabis has in Oklahoma, I was in Tulsa at some event. It was hot. There's a lot of people out there. I was trying to walk across an intersection, and I was wearing a cannabis hat, cannabis shirt, those kind of petitions. It took me 45 minutes to get from one side of, it was shut off, but people were after get one side of the intersection to the other to try to get some sunscreen lotion because people were so busy trying to sign that petition. I mean, you just couldn't do nothing. That's the support that, because people, they either use cannabis and they either know somebody that uses cannabis, they know somebody that's been busted for using cannabis and how ridiculous it was for them to be through the system for cannabis. I mean, that just feeds the entire system. That's why another reason why I want it passed is for legalization.
Yeah. It just simplifies everything. You can't deal with something when you're trying to pretend it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
You know, and at the end of the day, 100 years of prohibition hasn't stopped anything. It's just messed a lot of stuff up.
Yeah. It's cut down on so much research, in my opinion, because we could have helped. In my opinion, we could have helped so many people with cannabis.
Right.
It's truly a wonder drug I think.
Well, and I mean, the other thing is, like, if you talk about what's the actual risk factor here, it hasn't killed anybody.
And see, the dosage on cannabis is 0. They say it's class A, right?
Right.
So basically, I overdose on cannabis every day. As soon as I take that first toke, I'm overdosing federally because they don't think you can do any of it.
Right.
So all day long, and I'm still here, ain't I? Now, I've overdosed on opiates before, and that's bad stuff there.
Yeah. No, that'll kill you. I guess.
That's why cannabis helped me get off.
So what you're
all
telling me
drugs.
is that I'm basically in the middle of surviving basically what is now about a 35-year overdose.
yeah, I know what you mean.
I've survived an overdose for 35, an ongoing overdose for
every
35.
day. Yeah, you bet. And every time I overdose, the main thing I got to do, eat a cookie.
Yeah.
Okay, we can bring that up too, because we had a child get into some cannabis, and they took them. They called poison control. From what I found on the internet, called poison, and then took them to the emergency room. The two things I would not have done, because poison control knows nothing about cannabis, and emergency rooms don't. Now, we've got CBD kits. That's what I would have done, is crash that high with the CBD kit. But doctors freaked out.
Well, and that's the thing, and that is another thing that it's a real shame because and there are products out there. Chip Paul has a product called Rewind that True Medics has been making for a long time,
right?
And it's and that's literally it. It's like we've got the antidote to THC ODs.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it happens,
If it happens, and they're completely safe, and I mean it's be it CBD. Some terps can help block the same receptors. Chip stuff smells like cedar.
Yeah.
And it will. I mean, someone can do too many dabs and be over there fucking looking like they're
I've seen it work. Yeah.
Yeah, being done, and I mean it'll pop them back into it 5-10 minutes later, and all it's doing is just going and blocking out the receptors, doing some basic stuff. But and we're right across the street here. Easy to find down here on Walker. Okay, we're right across the street from St. Anthony Hospital. Can you imagine if I walked in to St. Anthony right now and said, "Listen, we got the antidote right here. What's the problem?"
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Oh, looking at me like I'm crazy." And I mean, I know I look a little bit like a cross between Spicoli and Baby Billy today, but but that's the thing. Is it just goes back to your point. When you just no, not even any research. Like we're literally have available what it would take to take care of that issue, but the corporate medicine is not receptive to it.
I've got a great analogy here. When Harley Davidson, Willie G, and workers at Harley Davidson bought Harley from AMC or whatever it was, they came up with the idea that they had a problem on a Harley, the worker on the line. If you come up with a solution, you would take that solution to the company that supplied that part. Now, these guys, long beards, hair and all that stuff, tattoos and everything, They would come up and they would bring that part and they'd say, this needs to be fixed. If the people did not want to talk to them, they would stand up and walk out and say, you don't want to talk to Harley Davidson either, then you go to someplace else. That's what we're doing too. We can go to other people and we can go to the people and we can go with this. We don't have to go with St. Anthony over there. We can go with the people and start convincing the people that they can start bringing this up to their doctors.
Right, right, and that's something that we can do, and look for.
Well, I've never been down a rabbit hole, have I?
Look for it. No. But the point is simple. Is just to simply say, we have it within our power to raise the public awareness, to let folks know what's going on.
Right on.
And that's one of the things about the THC antidote stuff. There's actually not any THC in it.
There you go. Yeah.
So that's something that any concerned group.
Speaking of THC, you know what I want?
What?
I want to take a weed break. All right. We're going to take a short cannabis break here. We're at 1016 North Walker. Come down here, sign a petition, get some free pizza, talk to Jed. You can talk to me. You can get a free T-shirt too.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Right on.
Free pizza.
Ping, 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 ping. Bing, we're live again. Cool. Right on, right on. We're down here at 1016 North Walker. We're down here. We got a sign-in petition. Hey, brother, how you doing out there? We got the pop-up outside. I'm talking with Mo. We're talking about pizza. We're talking about State Question 837. We're talking about Harvard Labs. We're talking about testing, all kinds of stuff. All right, brother, what we got going on right now?
Well, right now, so this space we're kind of doing a soft opening. We call it House Party. It's also where the ultraviolet space is. It used to be formerly Prism. And so I've been pretty much for the last 6 months, pretty much working on an egalitarian kitchen. So
Well, you've been working down here almost night and day. I know that. You've been working fingers, and you've been eating pizza a lot.
yeah, I've been eating pizza.
Because you got the brick.
They got
fire
a sweet, they got a sweet oven back there that they really hadn't been using. We're gonna probably start like one of the ideas of one of the partners in this place. We had an idea about, like, I was talking to him about probably 7-8 years ago. He's grown up around restaurants, and I always thought it'd be really cool to have pretty much like a co-op kitchen, like an egalitarian kitchen where everyone's time and energy is valuable. And
Right.
so then you don't have to really worry about someone disrespecting the food because they actually have vested interest in the success of the food being good and tasting well. And also they're sanitary. So that was kind of my whole thing. Was originally I was going to do a food truck and have it pretty much, this was like 12 years ago, pretty much have it like live stream to where there's accountability. There was an old live streaming service called Periscope back in the day. But the idea was to have transparency. So it's kind of similar with what we're doing in our laboratory as well. Build trust by actually being vulnerable and showing how the sausage is made.
I do love that. I'm open about everything I do, almost everything I do, and people like that because I get to go behind the scenes and see a lot of stuff that they don't.
Yeah.
You know, that's really cool because when I go behind the scenes, I look at stuff that other people don't.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's the other thing is like one of the rough parts about, I think what we're in kind of like a societal crisis is how do you know what to trust?
Exactly.
And the rough part is like, for me, I'm like, yeah, rather than me being a middleman, it's like, don't take my word for it. Same deal as the lab. Like that was kind of a discussion. Me and my brother's actually the owner of the lab. He's also the chemist. He might come by here like later today, but with the laboratory, it's really about pretty much building trust. We've had this debate, or like we've been deliberating about being transparent and live streaming the laboratory for like a long time. It just, you don't know what you're inviting in.
But we'll talk about that. Trust. Okay, now I don't trust the government. We all know that.
Yeah, you trust the government.
And right now the government is coming out with showing these abandoned grows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're showing a lot of chemicals and stuff like that, and a lot of everything. Now, I have not seen these chemicals up close. I do not know what chemicals they're using. And in my opinion, they could also be accidentally slipping in some old pictures of meth lab bus. I don't know. So
You're talking about like as into to possibly the government inflating what's happening,
like
rather than
statistics, yeah.
Because obviously they have a vested interest. Like if you have capital that invests into enforcement,
You bet. Or if you want federal money, to help you bust this, you bet.
say we have a crisis, we need more money.
bet.
You can, no offense to anybody, but you can mismanage funds.
Right. Let it follow where it follows.
Expenses get up quick.
Yeah.
It's very easy to mismanage funds.
Because it's amazing the amount of money that would be involved. We've seen it more from Ann Slinger's little agency to the DEA.
Oh
And
yeah,
my goodness, the amount of money that's poured into that.
I think it goes both sides. It's like the capital as well, like big business. You have the same thing, and big, either way, and even government. And Oklahoma's supposed to be like I think it has the vibe of don't tread on me.
Yeah.
Like we don't like big government theoretically, but depending on the industry and vested interest to because it's all game, right? Everyone conspires.
That's right.
I mean, like we're businesses, we're talking about, hey, what's the game plan, to some extent, and it's like, so we're all kind of conspiring in a way.
Exactly.
Same deal with us in this, but that's kind of my whole thing is be open with the conspiring. So kind of for us with the kitchen and the same deal with the lab, that's kind of what we deliberated about. And it's like, we're not trying to get rich. We're just trying to provide honest perspective, and we want anyone to critique.
Okay, now could a regular person bring their homegrown down to you to get tested?
Yeah, they can fill it out. They have a patient license. You have a right to get it tested.
There you go. Because
I think it'd be pretty cool if people were interested in giving us also permission to completely go, hey, look, this is blah, blah, blah's homegrown. And I mean, one of the interesting ones, Ronnie, you guys' friends.
Ronnie, he's going to be my
that Godzilla was
on point, isn't it?
Woo. Yeah, I was like, wow, dude. And I feel like there's certain this is the rough part about anything and showing bias is there's certain grows. For me, I've been a patient. I used to partake a little bit and then realizing, man, partaking in whenever it was illegal. So how did you even know what you're getting? Maybe you were getting a cleaner product. Maybe it was getting tested in California and someone was just doing simple arbitrage.
The difference in testing. Okay, we'll go back to my friend, Saltwater Cowboy. One of the major importer.
You guys told me about him. I'm like,
the Colombian red hair back in the day.
This is nuts. Yeah,
it's nuts. How they tested it, he would go down there and be in the big, huge field. He said they'd break off a bud that looked like it's dry enough. They'd take a banana leaf, no shit. They'd throw that bud in a banana leaf and fire that puppy up.
Oh, I bet that would be a great pre-roll.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now that was a testing back in the day.
But if that one was sitting on a shelf, I wonder what that microbial would be. But then there's even that debate on that. So like you have Maryland and Michigan where they have their microbial limits are 10 times higher than us. So it's interesting that we have a low pesticide count. This is for me as a patient.
It's for me too.
We have a low pesticide count. But that's not for safety. But then we have low microbial, but that's for safety.
Right.
So kind of like, and I'm not trying to, like, I don't blame, like, I know a lot of people have their hyper focus on demonizing Adria Berry and demonizing Oma. They're just, I don't. A part of the game. I really don't, like, I don't think that anybody's purely independent. Right. In a position of power. There's people that have put you there. So like, it's hard for me to just be like, oh, and people have said pretty harsh things about her. Like, so for me, from just my individual perspective, I try not to judge people. I get that, for me, in my perspective, I think if I was given the gift of life in anybody else's like mother's womb, I'd be them. Right.
But the problem I have with Adria is she's a lawyer. And she looks at everything from a lawyer's perspective. And, that's either a defense lawyer or a prosecuting lawyer.
Yeah.
So we're trying to educate.
Yeah, but sometimes it's not in the vested interest of people that may be putting her in that position to have her be educated on the actual real science or the real issues. It's really potentially the way that it looks situated is like there is data to suggest that the states that are more open with their metric data, God, man, I don't know if I'm speaking out of bounds, but this is kind of where I'm trying to kind of get with my brother is like, with our live stream is also trying to kind of, hey, have these, because we have these discussions every day.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how much time we spend. Like, and that's like it's not a waste of time. It is good to do thought experiments and like try to critically think and actually ask what is critical thinking to some extent. It's like, hey, what do you think about this issue? Like, and then actually trying to have that, well, what do we do about it? Like, what are our actions? And so it kind of creates this like limbo because you're not in like, it's hard to say I have complete autonomy over my own body, right? So actions and consequences, and then you have people that are the ones that are the lawmakers, and you have lawyers looking at the laws because that's their fundamental job. But are those laws sound? Are they actually good? And then having an open debate about what those laws are, or having an open conversation of what does safety mean, rather than it turning into an authoritarian control going, well, I'm the final judgment, I'm the final say of what's safe. Yeah. And that's a weird position, I think, for any human being to be in, because now you're not at some point you're disregarding what the community wants or what other people are saying, their perspective on the issue or what safety is.
I dig it. And see, there's a lot of people out there that are consumers, and they don't know about the testing. They don't know about the THC. They don't know about Delta 8 and Delta 9, all this other stuff. And that's the people that trust us to tell them this is a good product, Yeah,
but that's the rough part. So for me, like even me being in a laboratory, right? There are certain people I've gotten to meet and they've shown me, just like you, shown me behind the scenes, but I don't want to be anybody's like middleman, right? I don't want to be like, I don't want to, I think technically that's kind of what I'm getting at about us having a transparent lab is who's to get between you and like truth. Right. Like someone that's trying to tell you, hey, I know what the truth is, and they're trying to be a middleman to tell you what the truth is. I think is a huge problem in our whole like society and like in our, especially in the demographics or the ideas of Oklahoma or human relations.
And that comes back to why I want to pass 837 is because I'm old. I've been fighting for a long time. I just want to go home and be left alone. You know?
If I understand, I don't know if I understand it completely correctly. This is always a learning experience. So sometimes in some of the laws I haven't read through. To be honest, it's like I have not read through completely.
Well, and that's I've had friends that checked it with AI.
Yeah.
They said I checked State Question 837 with AI, and they said it's a good bill. Really,
that's the rough part. Like what biases are possibly built into that, and that's even another even bigger conversation. If you're building technology that pretty much can critically think and makes us obsolete, what?
Hey, Sarah Connor and John Connor, they're my people
for sure. We're really manifesting Skynet for sure. And I think a lot of people feel. I mean, that's been a constant worry of mine for. I think for a lot of people for.
I did a video yesterday because I did one about how sticky joint was, flagged immediately because I'm a chronic abuser of my page.
Yeah.
So that was why I put my Google Eyes on, and I put Google Eyes on the product too because the computer couldn't read it.
Got you. So they censored you. So you got censored.
I kept moving my Google Eyes.
You got to find your way to filter through and break through the filter. Yeah.
That's it, man.
That is a huge argument in a digital world. Do I have a right? Like, there's a certain thing like that's
it, man. That's why I did it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you have censor bots now.
That's it. Okay, cool. We're taking another break.
Yeah.
We're taking another break. We're out of here. We're at 1016 North Walker. Going to be down here all day. I'm going to be down here till about noon. Most fixing me some pizza here. Just
what we're doing, what I'm thinking about doing is it's kind of the same deal of like transparency. So I don't know which camera. There's like 3 different cameras. I guess I'll look at that one.
Come down here. You can get free pizza. You can sign a petition. You can get a free T-shirt.
We're doing like a free eighth, so it'd be like an eighth of a pizza, so an eighth slice of like potentially like a 12 or 15 inch. Sometimes the dough, making sure the integrity of the dough is good. But have people try it out, and then what I'm asking for in return, just try out the pizza and pretty much just if you could give an honest rating, like tag us, even if you think it sucks, tell us it sucks.
And if you can, give a donation to ORCA. We'd really appreciate it.
To do the instead of tipping us, maybe, and that's kind of the thing with this kitchen. We're all kind of taking a risk.
We are. We're doing that.
It's good.
This is again grassroots movement. I had to get up. I've been up since 5:30 this morning, getting ready. You've been up early.
No, but I'm not.
We have people down here since 7 o'clock setting up, getting ready. So we've been getting ready for this for a while. We're trying to get people down here, trying to get you signed this State Question 837.
It'd be great. Yeah, from what I understand about 837 is the constitutional right.
Right. Constitutional amendment. You bet.
And yeah, there's supposedly from what I've heard is, and I think is a big selling point on it is it gives you a constitutional right rather than it just being wrecked like every other state that has certain regulatory power moves, laws that are put in there that are power moves and it don't necessarily mean safer product. For you to have a fundamental right to it means the government can never tell you can't at least grow your own. So it is the free market accountable. So if Philip Morris comes in or some big player comes in and they just want to spray whatever, and these are your only options because they can saturate and bottom out the market. That was kind of what I was going to say about metric data.
Right.
Is the states that apparently have more transparent metric data, so you can kind of filter out and kind of see who's cheating and see things that don't make sense. Those markets are doing way better. It's interesting, and the markets that are very secretive with their metric seem to be a pattern across states that their markets are tanking.
All right.
And
I did it, right? Don't stand up. All right, we're going to be out of here. 1016 North Walker. Come down here. We're going to be down here all day. Love y'all. Like a herd of turtles.
All right, we're back. We're back down here at our State Question 837 Thunder Day event. First game of the NBA season for Oklahoma City Thunder. They are playing the Houston Rockets. Game's about 6. We're down here. What's the address again? 1016 North Walker. So we've got be here doing content all day, talking with different folks as they come through. It's an open house deal. This afternoon, we've got a couple of places where we're going to pop up, where we'll have a high traffic area. A lot of folks coming to the games. We're going to get out there, be gathering signatures for that. Should be getting set up here after lunch. Speaking of lunch, free pizza down here today. This spot's really cool, and they're working on a soft opening, and just want honest feedback on how the pizza is. So that's going on. Also, we've got T-shirts for anyone that wants to go out and gather signatures. But pitch aside, that's what we got going here. Jeremy Woods, Wild West Compliance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First off, just like to thank you for coming down and doing this for us. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks Harvard Industries for putting on the building for us to use.
Yep.
Let's get back to sign the signatures.
Yeah.
Whether you want it or not, we should at least be able to have it on a ballot to vote for.
Right.
That's the way I look at it. Everything should be put on the ballot to vote for.
Right.
And we got to protect our industry because it's getting bad. It's getting scary.
Well, and and that's the thing is that for some folks that may be hesitant, what we're doing right now is a voting right, and you're casting a ballot, but you're simply casting a ballot to get the opportunity to choose whether you want to do this or not. And that will be several months down the road should we get the signatures, potentially November of next year, potentially a year from now. So, one thing I like to point out to folks is for all us know-it-alls out here on cannabis, I always like to tell people, anyone that tells you where we're going to be in cannabis a year from now is, first of all, lying to himself.
I've heard people say, "Don't worry about it. You're going to be safe." There's no such thing as safe.
No.
You got to be on top of your toes, dotting all your I's, crossing all your T's, but there's no guarantee in nothing.
No, but that said, those folks that are on top of their game, that have their act together, and that, not only do that, but, pay attention to what's going on in the politics, all of it, because this is an issue. This is an industry right now in this state whose regulation in a lot of ways is more politically driven than common sense driven.
Yes.
A lot of others have had a chance to settle down, but there is a lot going on. So it's really, really important to, pay attention, not only help with something like 837, but above and beyond that, you better, stay tuned to what's going on.
Absolutely, because it changes quite often.
It really does. And, that's something that folks have an opportunity to have input on as well. I can't tell you, not just above and beyond having everything together, but it does help folks who work to have a relationship with their lawmaker. Now, that doesn't mean you got to kiss their butt or agree with them on everything, but you ought to, they need to know what your experience is like,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And there's no getting around that, some folks, they reach out to their lawmakers and their lawmakers either blow them off or tell them to beat it. But it's important that, because things can escalate beyond there within leadership and the way things work, right?
Yeah.
But you always want to make sure that you have at least reached out to your lawmaker, demonstrated that you're a legitimate business, here's what your issue is, and done that, you know?
Yeah, it does no good to complain about it if you haven't stepped up and tried to do your due diligence.
Right. And, that's really important. So it's important that folks pay attention on top of that. And I mean, I see a lot of folks that are generally do fairly well, but there's no getting around that. I mean, there's a lot of moving goalposts when
Yes,
it
there
comes.
is. Yes, the bad thing about it is just because legislation passes it and says that's what we're supposed to do doesn't mean our state entities follow it. You know,
Right.
goes on. So you got to stay with your lawmakers, talking to them all the time. And we appreciate that with you, Jed, because that's something I don't do. I don't talk to all the politicians all the time like I should. I don't go to the Capitol as often as I should, but you do. You talk to them all the time, and we respect that.
Well, yeah, I know. I appreciate that, because it's in a lot of ways, for me, I mean, really, it's a labor of love. Okay.
Yes.
And so it's, with the role that I had with State Question 788, that we worked to get this off on the right foot. Lawmakers didn't go along with that. We got off to the start. We've stuck around. We're continuing to try to work with them, and it's important. It's important that we try to maintain some level of institutional knowledge.
Yes.
And it's not just with us, but it's with them.
Exactly.
You get a lot of new folks in here. They don't know what happened the first 3 years after this program. They just look at it as prior perception and then what they see now.
Yeah, and we get judged a lot for it. We really do. It's
Yeah.
not our fault. We had a lot of illegal activity going on,
Right.
but our industry suffers from it because of it.
Well, no one's been more harmed by illegal activity at all levels than, folks that are trying to do it right. It
Yes.
ran a lot of folks out just the first couple of years that I wish they were still around.
Yeah.
Some amazing products, some amazing people really keyed in on the medicinal side of
Yes,
things.
they did. Yes, they did.
But it's yeah, it's one of those things where there's not a lot of even appetite at the Capitol for this. And, I really try to spend as little time there as possible. I really do. I'm fortunate that, even prior to 788, I've been doing political stuff
Mm-hmm.
for, about 20 years now. And so, it's knowing that and being kind of aware of that. And I mean, obviously, knowing who likes who and who doesn't like who and what their deal is, but not getting into it.
That's the key point right there. You got to go in there with a level head
Yep.
and talk to them with respect, because when you start cussing at them, it just goes one ear and out the other.
Right. And here's the thing is you have to understand that, what happens up there, we're just part of the big, there is so much going on,
Yes.
and, I've got a pretty good beat on what all that is, but that's not my that's not my problem. That's a them problem, not a me problem. And one of the things that I do, because in all of this, the only issue I deal with is cannabis. I don't go up there and get my nose into 2A or what other folks have got going on. Now, when those rights affect us, believe you me, we talk to those folks when we've got common ground. But it's one of those deals where, man, it's a shit show. And so if the quicker you can get in and out, the less stinky you're going to be on the backside of it, But I'm also fortunate, we do have some folks that listen, some folks that get it, and we may not always agree, but one thing they know about me is I'm just going to walk in, I am who I am, I'm going to, line out, what my thoughts are on the deal, and they're going to know exactly where we stand. I just try to be efficient
Right.
that way.
Right.
Which may or may not always be well received, but I'm saving them time too.
Yeah.
And I think that, and this has been productive.
It has. It really has. And there are some politicians that take the time and they actually listen, and they have concerns as well. And it kind of helps too, because we can answer some of those questions for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not in the industry, you really don't know other than what you hear. And there's a lot of hearsay in this industry.
Yeah, there really is. There really is. It's I think some of the, and that's the thing is that especially in defense of what we're doing, really, in defense of what we're doing, and then in defense of folks who are, we'll just say, getting the short end of the stick from regulators
Yeah.
on, some retroactive enforcement
Yeah.
type of a thing. No process of any kind in there type of a thing. But, had to spend a lot of time talking about that recently, especially with a lot of things that we've seen coming out of the state. But, the thing is that we can't get away from the fact that progress has been made.
Yes, it has.
In a lot of ways, and that a lot of the actions that that folks in agencies and lawmakers, there has been some successes there.
Yes.
Albeit not necessarily the way I personally would have gone about it, but I mean, I'm not the brain trust responsible for this.
Everybody's got different opinions.
That's
So they
right.
have to do something.
That's right. And I see, especially with lawmakers, the last 2 years. We had a 2-year period in there. It was rough, and what was nice was that this year, 2025 was the first time that we did not see 80 cannabis bills at one time for 3 years running.
Yes.
The proposals, were more serious. It just reflected that a lot of things have been done. There were some things that that we've even supported, and that's one thing that that'll be interesting to see down the road. When we ran 818 and 819, there are several policies in there that have become law now through the legislative process. Basically, the Executive Advisory Committee. That is something. Now, here's the deal. They took about 60% of what we did.
Right.
And then there was a lot more really cool stuff attached that would have given a more consensus voice, gotten all of our regulators in the room together at one time, and have a reasonable balance of power.
Yes.
So the structure is there, guys, and you can adopt that at any time this year if you want to. Just saying.
And it needs to be.
Right. But, but that's the thing, is that there has been that. There's also was the concept of an employee credential that had attached to it education.
Yes.
An education requirement. So they got their credential done. Had some issues with what that looked like. People were just getting hit for $50 over and over. And, this is a situation, this was really interesting. A couple of years ago was when that was going on in February. It's one of those things where they had to see the issue.
Right.
And then I was able to go in and track down the bill authors from the year before and say, guys, this is just bad.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, they took a look at it. And halfway through the session, they took a bill, took out the language and fixed the problem and got us past that deal. So, credit to, I think that was Lonnie Paxton and Dick Lowe. Paxton's pro tem at this time, so they're not unwilling to double back on some of this.
Right, and realize what mistakes was made and try to fix it.
Right, and then so you get into the evolution this year. Representative Burns ran a bill that actually now attached that requirement of education piece to it. And my only comment on that, I mean, I raised some, concerns about it, but the real concern was simply this: implementation timeline. It was set originally to go into effect January 1st of this year.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And, we knew that this current flip up that we have from Thensia into the new system was going to be happening, right? So my concern was, well, let's say that this doesn't go in reality as it's supposed to on paper. That's pretty close there. Now you've got this, this employee education piece, which other states do.
Yes.
There are already curriculum in place that could probably fairly well be adopted, or at least let's not do that blind. Let's use it as a template.
Yes.
Let's look at where we may be able to improve it. But that said, these are systems. These are state systems that OMA can't sign a contract for. They got to go through OMES. And so these things don't happen quickly. And my simple request on the bill of Senator Coleman was push it back. We're for the deal, but push it back to January 1st, 2027. Let them get through this, and then
And I was great with that. I actually worked with Congressman Burns on that to get it implemented. And what I was pushing for was for the compliance people, because we were seeing it on the compliance side, a lot of people not knowing what was actually in the rules and regulations. So
Yeah.
I was talking to Burns about, let's see if we can't implement something for the compliance people to be licensed and actually tested through the state to make sure we know what we're talking about before we go advise businesses on what to do.
Well, and that's the thing, is that has the potential to do a couple of things, not just with good policy, but in practical application. Okay.
Yes.
So for example, on the industry side, you know, it wouldn't it, you know, so we've got this credential here now, right? Now, having that baseline education on what some of those rules, especially how do you not get in trouble doing dumb shit in a dispensary, you know that baseline has been covered by coming from a state authority.
Correct.
You know, so those employees are probably going to take this a little more seriously.
Yes. And actually, a business owner should have the right to be able to come back and fix something without paying the violation of a fine. You know, if their bud tender makes a mistake and sells it under the wrong SKU, they catch it by the end of the day, they should have a way to come back and fix that. Now, granted, there should be things in setup to keep that from happening, but it's business and things does happen. It does. You know, a prime example on one is a receipt supposed to have the batch number on it instead of the metric tag. Most POS systems won't allow a batch number to be put on, but they do recognize the metric tag. So we need to change that to the receipt can have the metric tag. Most inspectors will accept a metric tag. Not all of them. Some of them will write them up for not having the batch number on the receipt.
Right.
But with our metric system, everything reflects back off of that metric tag, and it goes all the way back to the source package. And then the source package takes it all the way back to the plants.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing, is that right there, that even opens up a conversation about stackable fines. It also opens up more of a conversation about why we have not had provided for in rules 30 days to fix simple stuff. There's a whole conversation there. Do we need a break for a minute or anything like that?
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up, and maybe we'll let's when we come back, let's do this. Let's talk about rulemaking process. That is actually upon us right now. Yes. And there are some things that definitely need to be discussed. So, we'll take a break for a minute and pop back on and talk about upcoming rulemaking process.
Sounds good.
Howdy, howdy, everyone. Jed, director here at ORCA.
Jeremy Woods, Wild West Compliance.
Good to have you back on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good to be back.
Yeah, it's kind of a free-flowing event that we've got down here for Thunder Day. We've got free pizza being made up. We're going to be out gathering signatures here during the afternoon. Otherwise, we're just taking the opportunity today to sit down and talk with folks across the industry, across the community. Old School did Wake and Bake earlier on. Great to have them on. Shout out to Howard Labs. It's sponsoring the deal, and it's a good thing. We're into the home stretch here, so trying to get out, hit those public events. Don't just wait on folks to come to you. Reach out to your friends, families. Like, hey, have you got this yet? Signed it. Do that. Reach out in your communities. Get out to some events.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate everything you guys are doing for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. So we're hopping back on this piece, and I kind of want to talk a little bit about upcoming rulemaking process, and maybe a little bit about some of the hot topic rules that are out there for folks in the industry, and so I think that 7 years in. Folks that are paying attention have got, at least a pretty good idea that there's this annual cycle with random eruptions here and there that is called the rulemaking process.
Yes.
So the overview is that in the spring, basically between February and May, lawmakers make laws and then agencies create rules around that. And, it's what lawmakers do that is the basis for these rules. And, agencies are supposed to work within the spirit of the law or the intent of the author.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes they do a pretty conservative job of that. And sometimes they just kind of make it up, which is, that's kind of what that Chevron deference case was about. And I was encouraged seeing this year's legislative session.
That more peaceful.
Yeah, it was, and there were also some laws passed that kind of get to that, to where the agency's interpretation of laws is not law.
Yes,
and so that's going to be interesting moving forward. Now, so we've got that process. They make the laws, and then now when they pass a law on emergency, that creates emergency rules. For example, my least favorite example was the grower bond.
Yes.
Right. So they pass a law on emergency, which means it goes into effect that day that everyone is required to have this bond that does not yet exist. The agency needed to produce paperwork to even be able to, get this bond.
Yes.
And so it was just chaotic there for about 3-4 months. Of course, in a situation like that, if we see that again in the future, which lawmakers have been better about not doing that to us the last year or two. That was kind of an example. Don't be the first one to buy.
No, definitely not.
What was good is there were some folks that actually, in that industry that, stood to make, money and, make money doing that professionally, but they actually stepped up and helped get that cracked down to a reasonable amount.
Yes.
Within 30 days or so. By the time that the OMMA could even have the paperwork to do it properly. So that's an emergency rule situation.
Yes.
And to the extreme degree, right?
To a very extreme degree.
Yes.
We watched the committee the other day when they was talking about the bond and cleanup.
Yeah.
And I've got questions about it. I'm not a lawyer. I wish I was, because, some people say, well, the bond isn't actually a legal thing they can do. They can't actually claim the bond.
Right.
But yet we've been paying, every grow's been paying $2,500 a year for it. And I've told them before, the people that try to do it legal are going to do whatever you ask them to do.
Right.
Whatever you tell them to do, they're going to jump through hoops to do it.
Right.
But the illegal people, they're going to ignore it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if the pictures we've seen of some of the facilities, that is a true statement. I have seen facilities like that.
Mm-hmm.
Are they everywhere I go? No. They're few and far between, but there is instances of them being like that. But why did our bond not take care of that?
Right.
You know, I printed the bond paperwork off, and I didn't think about bringing in my paperwork like that with me, but it was talking about how OMA the bond has to be initiated to them.
Mm-hmm.
So are they the only ones that could actually file for the bond for the recall and not OBN?
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't filed for any,
Mm-hmm.
not one time. Well, now people's mad, and I can see a lot of legislation coming down the pipe because of it. But whose fault is it? Whose fault have they not called on any of these bonds on the cleanup? It's not. It's not our fault. So what are we going to have to jump through hoops next time? How much more are we going to have to pay to get it fixed?
Right.
Because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right. And there is and that's going to be a really good segment to do. And that's going to be because I've definitely there's some in the topic of abandoned groves, you know, and what may need or may not need to be done. You know, there's definitely some things to get into there. But that bond, again, something rushed through, done on emergency, no sort of implementation timeline.
Yep.
You know, it just creates a mess. And so one thing. So those are emergency rules,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, we've another. And this is something also that, you know, bears, you know, discussion, and going to have some things coming with this. But remember the fingerprint background check for the
Yes.
FBI?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to mention that as an emergency type of a deal that created emergency problems. Now, here's the thing, this is going to be another thing to dive into at some point, is Missouri
Yes.
is now able to, and
Yeah.
we passed language that was modeled this year, that was modeled after Missouri, that
Yes.
should, at some point in time, guys, don't be surprised if you get called in to, instead of an attestation, to actually have to do the fingerprint background check.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. if you
Yeah,
don't
sure.
mind. So I actually know a dispensary. The two owners did their fingerprints. They got them approved. Got their background check, and it says on the back, OSBI approved. Nothing, I don't remember word for word what it said, but they had the little sticker on the back. Whenever they renewed their license, they submitted it. They got not denied, but rejected on their license because they submitted their fingerprint background check instead of submitting the attestation form.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was what was in. And then they had to change the rules. Well, now you can do the attestation form because it's not federally legal for them to do the background check.
Right.
But if that's what was in policy at the time and what was in regulations, why did we not go ahead and get that license approved?
Right.
So
Right.
it wasn't no big deal, but it's little things like that that causes hiccups in our program.
Right, it does, and that's where that was that ties back into the disruption of the employee credential.
Yes.
And here's my concern. And this has always got to be a concern in what this looks like: capacity. Okay, so let's say that you've got a system that is usually processing this many fingerprint background checks, and all of a sudden it's got a 2x. 3x, 4x factor that it can't process faster than what the cutoff date is locally for having it done.
Yes.
Kind of sounds like a COO demand.
Yeah.
But-
That's a big debacle.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and again, that's in the importance of what we were talking about in the previous segment about talking with these folks and how some of these things, it's just the runway.
Yes.
Is a huge deal, and they have to be realistic. We got to do something now. Well, got to do something now means, in translation, if it's going to be done without it being a total debacle, is going to overall process be 2 to 3 years. Because when you place something like that in law, then again, you have that rulemaking like we're going into now. As that happens, purchasing has to happen, which has to happen again through OMES,
Yes.
which is its own process. So like, for example, transferring from Thentia to the system we're going into now,
Yes.
that was a 2.5-year process. Look where we're at on the lab.
Yes.
That's been a 3 to 4 year process, and I'm still not exactly sure where we're at. Hopefully we'll get an update at the next EAC meeting or something.
Let's look back at, legislation passes stuff for our state entities to follow.
Right.
They pass the rules, they pass the laws. And then it's up to OBN, OMA to write their regulations off of what legislation passes. You know, look back at how long we're supposed to have had a state lab.
Right.
I can show you legislation from 2020 that says that they're supposed to be running a state lab.
Uh-huh.
I did a live feed on my page a week or so ago, you know, asking because this is the second year for the secret shopper program. The first year they were supposed to hit like 10 businesses and have those samples tested. And it says in legislation at the state lab. We don't have a state lab. This year they're supposed to be doing 10% of all dispensaries. Well, there's, I don't know, 1,400 dispensaries. How many have we done so far? You know, then it also states in legislation that OMA is supposed to supply a report back to the legislation and let them know how that secret shopper program is doing and what they're finding. But has anybody heard anything about it? I haven't.
No, I haven't either. And you know that the way that man, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. One of the most powerful tools
Yes.
that OMA has to conduct enforcement, meaningful enforcement at the retail level,
Yes.
they have left on the shelf, neglected, and it is tied into, it's almost like they don't even want to do it.
You know, sometimes I wonder about that because I know for a fact I'm in people's metric accounts doing metric audits all the time. And sometimes I'm in them and I get right back out of them because I'm not supposed to, you know, they pay me to do a metric audit. I jump into a metric audit and then I release myself back out of them. But I was doing one and it was on a pre-roll. There was 1,635 source harvest packages in one pre-roll package. That's 15-pound limit for a smokable product. So how, that's 4 grams, 4.3 grams for 1,635 source harvest packages. How many processors do you know buy 4.35 grams on one metric tag to make pre-rolls?
Right.
That is the stuff that our state should be picking up on. They should be looking at all of that, but they don't. And it's scary. It truly, and that's why the secret shopper program is important, to go by and pick up those products and have them tested to see. You know, if it's a legit deal, then it's a legit deal. Maybe somebody had that left over. But when you're in metric and you're looking at all that stuff, it's surprisingly what it tells on. It tells you everything if you're smart enough to look at it.
Right.
But, you know, I tell dispensaries all the time, hey, you need to be looking at your testing. Look at your testing to see if it's got an expiration date. Why do we not have expiration dates on this stuff? Especially now prepackaged is a thing. But we don't do what is our due diligence enough. And part of that is on the industry itself, not knowing. And a lot of that is on our state for not enforcing what they're supposed to be doing. My personal opinion. But yeah, it's, you know, let's go back to the state lab. In 2020, I believe, I've got all the regulations printed out. Every time they come up with a new set, we print them out that morning. 2020, I believe, is when it was set up for them to start using the state lab through Department of Health. They were supposed to be doing stuff to make sure our labs are in check, to make sure our labs are testing to state procedures. They quit doing that in 2022. We actually had a meeting with OMA 2023. It was in August, and said, hey, here's your pile of tests. These tests are not compliant. And we went through every test that we took them, showed them why they wasn't compliant. We do compliance work for labs as well. And I knew what they were supposed to be doing. You know, they're supposed to be sending the solid core samples to all the labs for the labs to test their methodologies. They quit doing that. But now we have a bad problem with our labs now. If we was doing what we were supposed to be doing the whole time, would we have that problem? I don't think we would. So hopefully they will get the state lab up and going and get things fixed. It's kind of scary in between, but
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing here is that you know, I always truly hope for successful outcomes out of the agencies,
Yes.
you know, and I hope for that outcome. I mean, you know, when we step back and look at this from 30,000 feet again, okay, Oklahoma as a state as a whole is basically a big fail on lab testing for public health, even beyond what marijuana is.
Absolutely.
It's just that simple. I mean, there's the, you know, the whole, and again, this is where, you know, I like to say I just stay in the cannabis lane, but folks that, you know, pay attention to what's going on, you know, they know that for over a decade or more, the way that a state testing lab for, you know, forensics and everything has been handled has been a complete and total shit show. So,
Yeah.
hopefully that changes, you know.
I'm hoping so. You know, and that's what I always try. I try not to talk bad about our state agencies because I'd hate to see where we'd be at without them, to a certain extent.
Hmm.
You know, I remember what it was back in 2019 when everything was up and rolling and good, and then they handed it all over to Department of Health. It was truly the Wild West, and that's how we came up with our name for Wild West Compliance.
Yeah.
Because anybody and everybody had it, and anybody and everybody was selling it, no idea what it was.
Right. Right. Well, and that's the, you know, and that's the thing, and that, you know, so that it kind of brings us back around, and that's one of the things that has been a big frustration for a lot of folks is that, you know, you spend, you know, years, a lot of time talking with the agencies, hey, this, and I mean, for me, it started even just with the Unity bill.
Yeah.
You know, here it is. Okay, you say, no, we're not going to do that. Like, you made the choice for us to go down this path. And then as we continue to go along, you know, we advocate for common sense legislation, you know, things that could very, very effective, simple tools
Yes.
that, you know, could be utilized. But then, you know, we get into the conversations on the rules, like we're, you know, going into on permanent rules now. And, you know, this time last year, you know, the topic, really hot topic coming in was testing.
Yes.
And what, you know, a new list of pesticide limits.
Yes.
And very importantly, a timeline, a March 1st, 2026 timeline that, given everything that we have seen, that there were issues with what were going on in the rules. Simply, the timeline was a concern because, again, even after a lab is established, it has to establish method and method validation.
Yes.
And work with those labs, right? And our concern is that we would not make that timeline, but the way the rule was written
Correct.
was that everyone would be, by rule, have to comply with something that the state would not be ready for. And the potential was, well, at this point, no product can move.
Correct.
In this industry. It was a real concern. It has borne out to have been a very legitimate concern where we're at now, not beating up on anyone.
No,
Right?
I agree. Because, you know, my biggest thing is I'm all for expanding that pesticide list. I'm all for it. But my concern was the levels that they wanted to set it to.
Right.
You know, 0.02, if I have a grow and I'm hiring a guy and he actually has bugs in his house and he sets off bug bombs, he wears a shirt that's in that closet and he rubs up against a bud while it's growing, well, it's going to flag the 0.02 limits.
Right.
Inevitable. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
We're not set up. We can't track the 16 that we're supposed to be tracking now. So how are we going to track the 60 to those low levels? You know, one of the labs that we did compliance for, they brought in a specialist. I think he was out of Arizona, and he retired. He was a federal lab director. And now all he does is he goes around, sets labs up and tests their equipment, sets methodologies for them. But he was talking to me and he said, you know, there's only 4 machines that are capable of detecting that's actually made to detect that. He said, you're looking at $450,000 for the cheapest machine available. So how are these labs going to come up with that, get all their licensing approved to be able to run that equipment, get their methodologies approved to run that equipment in that short of time?
Well, and that was another thing that we, in the permanent rules that we flagged as an issue.
Yes.
And that's the thing. So it's like you've got that, obviously, we're leading consumer safety advocates.
Yes.
We know these things are out there. We know they need to be tested for, but again, it's a case where Oklahoma said, well, what did California do? And went to what they did 10 years ago before they found out that they had set those limits so low. Again, when they're making rules that have an economic impact on an industry, there are provisions. There are supposed to be economic impact statement. Now, you notice that this year that there may have been some surveys going around asking about the economic impact of this, and this.
Yep.
Well, it looks like OMA's learned a little bit that you have to do a little more diligence on the economic impact, because they were outside of Title 75, and that's what I told them walking in. Look, we're for the deal. You got to change these limits. Yeast and mold, needs to be split, bumped up to 100K, and go from there. And that right there would solve so many compliance issues in testing and what products move and get into the market as opposed to come out. It's foundational there. Yes. So we went and we raised these concerns. Now, know this, in that process, whatever your input is, always cite the section you're commenting on.
Yes.
Because by procedures and such, they cannot change something if you do not cite it. So you cite that section, and as long as you flag that section, then OMA is allowed, under Title 75, to then change their permanent rule before they send it to lawmakers for approval. Well, they didn't do that this time last year.
Correct.
And so because they didn't do that and we're proceeding forward, we had no choice for everything from economic. I mean, this was going to train wreck, and it's the type of thing that a lot of folks don't get, but it potentially seizes the market overnight.
Yes. But, there's a way around it. There truly is. Do you know what's required by hemp, by Department of Ag?
What's that?
So if I have a hemp farm and I'm going to use pesticides, I have to let Department of Ag know what pesticides I am using.
Right.
When they actually come out and check, they're going to look to see what pesticides you're using to make sure you're doing what you're required to be doing. All we got to do is have OMA require, hey, here's the grows, here's the list of supplies we're using. This is what we're using for our pesticides. Have a list. Department of Ag, as long as it's for hemp, it can be used for marijuana. But the hemp producers actually have to supply a list of what they're actually using on their product.
So, and that does go into something that when we talk about what these limits are, I think that there is actually probably within the industry, there's probably pretty quick universal consensus on what those limits things should look like.
Yeah.
We get them up out of the range of in the realm of reality, not 10 times more restrictive than what you allow in baby food.
Yeah.
Okay. Not doing that. You handle the yeast and mold. And then the other thing is, and this is the way that, way I've been putting it is, give us a list of what we can use. Yes. Right. And because there are a couple of things that are in there that are actually considered food safe pesticides that actually do wonders on spider mites. And if you simply get that within the food allowable limit, that would allow them to use that, and that is like the least of 60 evils.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we know what those things are. So I know that moving forward in the permanent rules process, this is something I know there's going to be a lot of talk about, and as opposed to this time saying, hey, there's an issue, we ought to take a look at this. We're going to, want to up it and, work with everyone and try to come kind of like we've done with 837 or we do with things, as well as some others know that when things are moving with the Capitol, I'm always calling around the folks I know that are involved in paying attention, always saying, hey, consensus. Okay, great.
Yep.
The less ruckus we got to make and the quicker we can get everyone on the same page, the better off we are and we get what we get.
I've got every state's regulations on my computer because we do compliance in other states as well.
Yep.
And it's funny you brought up the 100,000 because there's some states that have 100,000. There's some states that don't require it at all. They have no limit on the CFUs.
Well, and if you look at what yeast is, I mean, run me a COA on a beer.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no case they can make that any of that's actually harmful. It really ought to just get pulled.
You know, I had a gentleman, I think they're wanting to go to break, Jed.
Well, that's
Oh,
probably
no,
a good. That's not a bad thing. Here, let's do this. Yeah, let's go ahead and pop off.
Okay.
And when we come back, what we're going to do is I want to flip it back,
Okay.
and let's go over and talk about what happened at the committee hearing on abandoned grows.
Yes, that sounds good.
Let's do that.
Okay,
All
sounds
right.
good.
See y'all in a bit.
Ping, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I don't have to talk so live right now because we've got microphones. Thank you, Summer Parker, Davin, Nana 78, because she got us wireless microphones. You're just kicking ass.
Yeah.
All right, we're down here at 1016 North Walker. What's really wild, talking soft. 1016 North Walker. I'm sitting here talking with Jeremy West from Wild West Compliance. Now, dude, I follow you.
I appreciate it.
Too. How
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, we do.
Right
We do.
on.
Yeah,
Now,
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Now, you do compliance.
We do compliance work.
That's one thing I absolutely love because legal.
Yes.
Because we know the feds are watching us, the government's watching us. So everything I try to do above board, and it's so open,
Yes,
you know?
it is. Yes, it is. And a lot of it, I hate to say it, but a lot of it falls to how you want to interpret what's in the regulations.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's kind of scary and kind of sad at the same time.
Right.
Because it should be in black and white, which I don't believe there's a gray area in anything. If it doesn't come out and say it in black and white, then we advise against it.
That's me. A line drawn right here, black and white, it's easy to distinguish, you know?
If it's questionable, then throw it out because
That's right, yeah.
you don't want to take a chance.
I do not, yeah, see, I've been in jail. I do not want to take that chance. I do not want to go to jail again. It sucks.
Well, I'm a little fortunate. I haven't been there yet.
Okay, well, that's why I appreciate all the voters that passed 788 because I can sit in my house, I can smoke a joint and have the house full of smoke and not worry about anybody coming up, knocking on the door, you know, not, oh no, you know, who is this, you know.
Yeah.
I don't care. I can just open the door.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, and like you, I know you have medical issues.
Right, yeah.
You know, and some people do use it just to explore.
Exactly.
But there's a lot of people that truly use it for the medical side. You know, we was talking earlier before it started about I wish they was able to do more research.
Exactly,
To
yeah.
tell exactly what all the plant can do for you.
Because, see, look what cannabis did for me. I was addicted to 6 10-milligram hydrocodones a day. I did 4 Xanax a day. I did Seroquel or Valium or Klonopin. You know, I did a lot of opiates and diazepines and all that other stuff. Now, I quit all that. You know, I'm ready to take a drug test right now, and you will not find any of that in my system. But I will peg the meter on THC because I use THC instead of all that. Now, the other drugs, they're what I call a shotgun drug or, you know, because they just wipe you out. I couldn't sit here and talk to you.
I say you probably didn't leave your house, did you?
Well, I did, unfortunately. You know, that was my last DUI. I left my house on hydrocodones and Xanax and had a wreck, you know. Yeah, that was my snap to reality. Now what, okay, we talk about this. My snap to reality, I had a wreck, you know, totaled my truck. I had to go to court, you know, you had all that. I was put on probation. So to go to my probation officer, I had to actually take the drugs that I got a DUI on and test positive for them. Now, I had to drive back and forth. Now, I had to test positive for hydrocodone and Xanax every time I went in, well, almost every time I went into my, it was so stupid. I could not believe that. So after that was over, that's when I said, okay, I'm done. I got a large amount of cannabis. And I quit all those drugs.
Yeah.
You know, not that I do not recommend the way I did it because I did it cold turkey. It sucks.
Ooh.
But there I am.
Well, good. And you're still here today?
I'm still here today. You bet. I like I say, I do cannabis every day. I appreciate the terps. I buy my cannabis by the terps.
Yes, yes. I know several dispensaries we do compliance work for. They're very big into the terps.
Right.
THC, that really doesn't matter. It's a terp profile that is what helps you.
I hate on deal. It says total THC.
Yeah.
Okay, you're driving me crazy. 23 or 29% total THC. Okay, what is the Delta 8 and Delta 9? That's what I care about, the Delta 9.
Yep.
But don't give me, I don't care about. And see, I wish they would break that total THC down into the THCAs, all the other THC.
So let's talk about that. When you go into a dispensary, ask for that testing.
There you go. Ask for that test.
That COA will break that down for you and tell you what it has in it.
That's it.
And a lot of people.
And they've got to give that to you too.
Yes. By law, they have to give you any COA. And that's what I try to tell everybody. Hey, I don't care if it's a vape cart. I don't care if it's just one of those little THC pills. You need to be asking for that testing. And
That brings
if they
up.
don't give it to you, walk out.
That brings up a good friend of mine. He's passed away now, Randy Whitekiller, Dr. Randy Whitekiller. Oh, I loved him. He'd go into the dispensary, and he's sitting there one time, and he was asked for a COA on something, and the guy says, "Oh, I don't have that. The manager has that." And Randy says, "Well, I ain't buying." And he just turned around and walked out, and he goes, "You're not going to buy a half ounce, you know?" Because and Randy pulled out his card, and he said, "I threw that card down." He says, "Tell that son called me." He said, "I won't even buy a gram from you without a COA."
Absolutely.
And walked out.
Absolutely. You know, and I know you're a big representative of patients for safe access.
Right on, you bet.
And that's what I was telling Summer. Hey, when you guys go in there and buying that, ask for that COA. That way you got something to compare that to besides what you're actually testing it at. Because there's a big variance.
There is, yeah.
And it doesn't, we shouldn't have that big of a variance.
No, we should not. That's why I want Andrea Berry and the OMMA to snap to and get a compliance lab that can set down our standards.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. Fortunately, I do. I get to speak with Lee quite a bit. And he's director of our labs.
Oh, yeah, I know Lee, yeah.
Yeah. He's a very good guy.
He is a
very
good guy.
Smart guy.
Yep.
But I'll send him stuff all the time. Hey, you might look into this. You might look into that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's very important for every COA you purchase.
We had a meeting, and we were sitting there, and we brought up the subject, and he was sitting there, and Lee goes, "I brought that up a year and a half ago." Yeah, I appreciate it, dude, but, you know, we push it a little bit harder sometimes.
Yeah. But unfortunately, you need to.
Yeah, you do. Because we are in the industry and we live it every day. And if you're not in the industry, you know, and you don't live it, you know,
Yes.
just trying to control the industry, it's entirely different.
Yes. And the bad thing is, you know, I wish they'd do it a lot different. Unfortunately, they don't.
Yeah.
But
Oh, trust me, I wish they'd do it the way I want it.
yeah, I do understand. You know, it's kind of like the packaging and labeling side of it. You know, I really wish they would have left the safety strips on everything.
Right.
But unfortunately, the Senate committee took that out. But it's kind of funny because you're required to have your lab samples
There you
with
go.
safety strip to it.
If you're just tuning in, I'm talking to Jeremy West with Wild West Compliance. We're down here at 1016 North Walker, down here for Thunder Day, Thunder Up. I've also got Ashes.ai set up out here. They're a POS system, so if you need a POS system, you can cut that. We use a lot of acronyms. POS stands for Point of Sales. COA is Certificate of Analyst of Analyzation.
Yes.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very important. And like I say, if I was a patient, which I've had my medical card, I used it for a little while to help me sleep at night with my back problems. But make sure and ask for those COAs anytime you buy product.
I posted a deal about that. This week I'm doing an invisible chronic illness. If you've got an invisible chronic illness, you know, because see, sometimes I'm sitting in meetings, you know, the pills I take, I got neuropathy, pills make me nauseous. Like I was sitting in a meeting and I was sitting there going, you know, my leg hurts, my foot hurts, and I feel like throwing up, and I hate being in meetings. Because you don't have any donuts. But, you know, people don't see that, you know. Yeah. They just see, you know, when I was younger, you know, you say, okay, everything's good. You know, you're cooking along. You know, you hit something, you hurt, you go on. But now, man, it takes forever.
Yes, unfortunately it does.
It really does, yeah.
Yeah, and the older you get, the worse it gets.
Because I brought that up. I hate complaining about anything anymore. Because anytime I complain, okay, I go to my heart doctor and complain. Okay, I got a little pain here. Oh, really? Okay, we need to do some tests. Oh no, what does that mean?
Here's some pills you can take, and they're going to make you sick. So here's some other pills to take to keep you from getting sick.
That's what, because I got this little bitty pill I just hate with a passion that, you know, you got to take, or you die. I got several you got to take, or you die. And it makes you so nauseous and hurts your stomach. I hate it.
Yeah. Maybe one of these days they'll actually start doing research on the cannabis plants and the cannabinoids and see what it can truly do for people.
Because I have a problem with my weight. I know people have problem with their weight. They try to lose weight. I'm sorry.
I got a problem with my weight too.
I see everybody does. I'm a thin person. I'm wearing 29 32s and I could wear 28 32s sometimes. I have a problem putting on weight. I'm looking for that munchy cannabis. I've had that munchy cannabis where I smoke a joint and eat and eat and eat it, and it was great. But now, I can take 3 or 4 bites of something, I'm done. Me and my wife usually split a meal when we go somewhere to eat. I want that good, I want good munchy cannabis. I want Vietnam giggle pot. If you've ever smoked that, that's good stuff. Yeah.
I've heard about it.
Oh yeah, I've smoked it, man. That is good stuff. And I like several types. I like that joint where you're sitting there, you smoke. Now I smoke individually by myself. Smoke a joint, you put it down, you go, that ain't shit. You sit there and you go, man, I'm blitzed. And then I like that joint where you're sitting there smoking about halfway through and you go, I'd like to smoke a joint. Oh, I am.
Yeah, I understand.
There you go. Those are fun ones,
And then you smoke too much and it catches up to you in a real quick hurry.
Oh yeah, yeah. Boom. But hey, I'm strung pretty tight, so that's why I smoke indica all day long, because ping, 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 my head, my brain's always going, and I need something to try to contain and slow myself down. It's hard.
Yeah. I probably should get my medical card and go back because I don't sleep much. But that's
Right.
all right because that lets me get on my computer about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I
Right.
go down these rabbit holes and start looking at stuff, just compliance stuff. What would happen if we did this or what would happen if we did that? Things we could change, make things better.
I talk to patients. That's why, it's about, I talk to people, heart patients, a lot of heart patients, and their sternum hasn't mended back together yet, all kinds of different things like that. And they talk to me, and they go, John, I'm supposed to be on bed rest, and this is just wearing me out. I'm going to put on my brace and I'm going to get up and I'm going to get out. And I go, right on, I support you. I understand, because they go, oh no, don't do this. You'll die. Okay, yeah, I'm probably going to die. Yeah, but I'm going to go get me a freaking malt, okay,
Yeah.
or something like that. Because get over it, I'm 73 years old. All right, that means I need a joint. We're going to take a break.
Appreciate
Just sitting there smoking and talking with Jeremy West. Brother, it's great talking to
Great
you.
talking to you
we
too.
follow each other too. That's
Yes,
so
we
cool.
do. That's the fun part about it.
Right on. All right. Off like Carter Turtles. We're down here at 1016 North Walker all day long. Ping, 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 ping.
Flex. Stress Yes. 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 Yes.
Hey everybody, we're back. Jed Green, ORCA. I'm with Miss Summer Parker, Patients for Safe Access. Yeah, thanks for stopping by today. Yeah, this has been really really cool so far. You know, today did a lot with Old School earlier on. Had Jeremy Woods in talking with Mo from over at Howard Labs and proprietor of the fine establishment where we're in. So, just kind of covering a variety of subjects today, and grateful for everyone that's showing up, helping out on the effort across the state, and just really looking to make the most of the day and just kind of talking about a lot of stuff with folks like yourself that, is going on and, concerns and, just trying to have that public conversation. And yeah, so it's been good. It's been good. So yeah, all day long.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be here. We'll be doing this. We're talking about a variety of topics. Whatever is on anyone's mind, come in. Let's just fire away. Talk about it. Here in a couple hours, we'll be getting set up over by where the Thunder have their game tonight. Yeah, and so we'll be working on collecting signatures over there. We'll be watching the game from here as well. Folks come in all evening and yeah, just kind of hanging out doing this. So, oh, I know they're having to send the military in on us. They would wait for that to pass. Oh shit, it's the Jump Out Boys. Oh no, that's it. We're right across the street from St. Anthony Hospital, and that is the medical helicopter coming in for a landing. Thoughts and prayers. That's wild.
That's crazy.
I didn't know that was one of the amenities here. Yeah, I didn't know that helicopter was one of the amenities. So, absolutely.
To answer questions all day because I've even had people reach out to me like I'll use Amanda Allen as one of my examples, and she's like, I have so many questions but I'm not getting direct answers. And so for someone like herself or anyone else that has questions about what does SQ 837 mean for our state, what does it mean for our community, what does it mean for our legislation and stuff like that, this is the opportunity to go ahead and come on down and have those, one-on-one Q&As with you. So guys, come on down here today. You've got to get out here and come out here and be a part of the movement as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we may very well do something like this again next week, just okay, folks kind of get it. What are y'all doing down there? Well, this is kind of what we're doing, so, we may take a look at that, but you talk with a lot of folks, what kind of questions are you getting that I could help get a direct answer for?
Patient rights. A lot of answers that people were getting was patient rights, patient rights, patient rights. But how does it help patient rights? And and I'm sure you felt the vibe in the beginning. It's not that I was ever against SQ 837. It's just I had my own reservations overseeing different states with their programs with medical and rec both. But as we've moved forward in the process, I have shuffled into being full head behind this. And a lot of that reason is because it does do a lot for patient rights.
Right.
We have the ability to retain our home grow cannabis. Like an average plant, you're going to get maybe a half a pound to a pound of cannabis off of your plant dry weight, right? And so you're only allowed to have 8 ounces in your possession at your home currently right now, according to your medical card. So if you've got over 8 ounces off of a plant, you can't have that right now, but then after 837, if we can get it on the ballot that passes, it protects us having the ability to keep all of our home grow. And for someone like me, I'm a rosin head. I love me some rosin and I love edibles. I don't like distillate. I think it's not okay, but whatever. I know that it has a place in the market, but not in my body. I'm just gonna say it that way, And so I like making my own canna butter and hash butter and stuff like that. And if I don't have enough weight to be able to make that, I don't have it.
Right.
So
Right.
that's one of the things that for me, when I started looking at it like that, I was like, okay, this makes more sense for me. Not only that, you take away the 10% medical marijuana tax on the medical patient. It goes, or not 10%, sorry, 7% tax,
Right.
going to a 10% tax to recreational at that point. And so, right now, if I go into the dispensary and I buy $100 ounce, I am going to walk out that door spending $130 on that product, $30 in taxes down there. So we take that away from the medical patient who is struggling to pay for the medicine in the first place. and that helps us out.
Mhm.
So there's another good point. So things like that are, what got me to really reshift and refocus and rechange. But in the beginning, it was hard to get answers, like clear answers,
Right.
like it was kind of, everybody was like, oh, we're doing it, but it's kind of vague, as to the way people would answer the questions for others.
Right.
And now, 2.5 months in to it, and everybody's very well versed that has been handling it.
Right, right, right.
And I'm a fan. Like, after it Pride, I was like at the front of the gate area, whatever, in front of the booth, and everybody else was behind the booth doing the best job because they are the signature takers.
Mhm.
I'm over there loudmouth. I'm like, hey, are you registered to vote? Hey, adult recreational. Hey, it is. And it was a blast. I had a fun time.
Awesome.
Being with Chris and Andrea and Shelly and Ashley Nicole and Anthony, and I can't even think of who else all came out there. But
Bunch of folks,
like, a
yeah.
bunch of folks. So I'm hoping we're gonna have that size of a turnout tonight as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see. Who all comes through, during the course of the day, and gets out and is able to grab some signature tonight. I know we'll have a few people here specifically coming to do that. But yeah, that's of course that's the big concern, and we've all seen what's happened in other states. I mean, there was a prior recreational vote that that didn't pass because of a lot of concerns that folks had about what it did to our medical program. And, that's the thing, and you hit on a couple of the really key provisions, eliminating that 7% excise tax on medical. Also, Section 1 of it, the very first thing we do is put medical in the Constitution. A lot of folks say right now we don't actually have a right to medical. We have a privilege that is granted by law, a privilege that lawmakers have shown what they'll do with it. And so, we've constantly fought back a lot of different efforts to really curtail patient access, which if they're not going to get access there, they're going to get access somewhere else that is not a consumer safe tested environment. And so
Like the
that is literally the first thing we do. So it's like, if you go in order, the first thing that 837 really does is it gives us a constitutional right to medical. And then there are a couple of other things, individual rights and protections for parents, families, employee rights, that there is no way we are getting through the legislature. The only way we're getting it through is a popular vote, and so then the other thing that we do, keying off of what we saw happen in so many states where they enacted recreational after medical, the common denominator was a separate business license. And when you did right, and this doesn't do that. It just immediately, it is designed so that there are not two storefronts, there are not two separate tracking systems, there is not a split in the products that are available now, and that is, it's really, I guess it would be revolutionary because no one else has gone about it that way. So yeah, it's, but that's, again, this is, 837 was written with a hell of a lot of community input over time, folks that have been, on the front lines, preserving individual rights or individual, preserving our privilege per se. Right. So I'm really grateful to all the folks that chipped in and, got their 2 cents in. I was talking to Old School earlier. 837 is 818 and 819 put together, made skinny, and then real-time comment for 3 months. And I know that you commented as part of the process, and you saw what we were doing. Open air document. All right, here's what it is. What's the issue? Good point. Put it in there.
Kind of stick in the mud for
Mhm.
me is the potency cap situation. And that's only because with us being where we're at in Oklahoma, we have such a free market in our medical market as far as potency goes that we have 10,000 bags of edibles on the shelf available, right? So, example, if you went to Arizona and you were a recreational patient and you go in and you go to purchase a bag of edibles, you are only going to be allowed to purchase 100 milligrams per day. That's it. That's that cap, right? Okay, so here, if we've got the same person who says going into the dispo for the first time on their, adventure of being a patient, whether it be rec or medical, well, rec on this case. So they go in, they buy that 10,000 bag of edibles, and they go home and they just get laid out and have the worst experience ever, with cannabis. And that's not what we want to have happen, right? And so that was something we had talked about, and there's an opportunity, on the afterthought, on the backside of it, to come in and make those types of changes. So kind of tell me, if you don't mind,
Yeah, sure.
like 788 was wrote super loosely, 837 was wrote super loosely in a way, and they were wrote that way because there were these things that you knew were going to have to change right away as soon as it passed, but because it's going in as a constitutional amendment, then we've got the opportunity to fix things later, right?
Yeah, basically the way 837 works is a constitutional. Again, 788 was a framework. In a sense, 837, it's a foundation, but it is built to accommodate the existing framework and streamline it, strengthen that framework that is in place. The first 4 pages of it, again, are literally individual rights and freedoms. That's what it comes down to. And then you get into the 5th page is where we talk about implementation and what licensure looks like and what those licenses can and cannot do on a basic level. But from there, one thing that you don't want to do, especially in a constitutional, is go in and do things that address, lock yourself in too hard to certain things. You want to leave that wiggle room. It's like for example, on the business licensure and registration, we simply say, look, there's going to be one agency that does licensure and registration. A license is going to cost this. A registration is going to cost this. Those are the guardrails, right? It's going to be up to the legislature, and we give them 3 years to do it, which is a reasonable time frame for them to say, okay, for businesses, you're going to deal with licensure and registration through this designated agency, right? They're allowed to have another agency if they want to handle patient licenses, caregiver licenses, research and education, to be able to, have that focus. So things like potency caps and such, those are things that I think are going to continue to be, brought up at the legislative level, So it's and in the past, where we really have run into trouble with that is that, for example, when you get into, say, like RSO or other products for cancer patients or folks working their way off of opioids, you've got to get into some pretty heavy duty stuff. But those are people that are going in with a reason and know that that's what's going in. It's like you can handle that 5,000 milligram edible if you somehow survive fentanyl, right? So you may think you're going to die, but you're not. So but the thing is that part of our issue here, even working through that, is education of our regulators. And the fight that we have is that they lean towards Big Pharma's limited knowledge pool when making those determinations about what those things ought to be. And the problem that they have, and you hear it from the agency, is they want to focus on it from a public health and safety standpoint, which we do too, but we're saying 2 different things. We're saying 2 different, right, exactly. And again, it comes just down to that fundamental approach of, when we're talking about cannabis in healthcare, is our focus first on how it helps, or is our focus first on how it harms? Right. Given everything we know, and that there's been all this focus saying, oh, the harm people had their shot. Right. The harm people had their shot for 100 years. The truth is setting us free, you know? So, I mean, there's a lot of work. There's, a lot of these discussions to be had. One thing we were talking about earlier as well was what we're working to do to try to get some resolution on the pesticide list and what that looks like. Well, and you were, we were all around. We talked to Jeremy earlier on, Jeremy Woods, a little bit about what that process. This time last year, we were starting to look at permanent rules. We see this list for the first time when it comes out, and we say, okay, yes, we agree in principle. However, you've got some real implementation issues that you're going to run into here. And, we made some suggestions. Well, we really just flagged the problem and, talked some about what some of those issues were. That wasn't really heeded by the agency. And ultimately, lawmakers saw that this was, while well-intended, that there were issues that were going to cause real problems. And so they rejected those. Now, here we are again a year later. So addressing this in real time, I know a lot of us have had conversations, and I think that what I've seen in the community is generally probably 90% consensus on, okay, we need this list. We need to look at exactly what some of those limits are, because they either become impractical or are a tenth of what is allowed, say, in baby food. Right. So you have to, because again, OMA's starting list was based off of California's starting list when they did it. And right. And we've seen them do this before, where look at what California has in real time right now. Not this back then, but what are they? Oh, well, this and this and this different. Yes, because that was unfeasible or so far outside the norm that that's airborne, Mhm. Right.
Things like that. And those are great methods, to look forward to. But regionally,
Mhm.
each region of the U.S. uses different chemicals for different things, whether it be aphids or PM or whatever. You know what I mean? And so if you're not taking they need to go to Walmart. Look at the back of that. That's the chemicals we need to be testing for.
Right.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Because
Absolutely.
that's what these people are using.
You're
Those are
right.
supposed to be used. Culture has an approved pesticide list for hemp
Uh-huh.
slash cannabis sativa slash marijuana,
Right.
right?
For
And
cannabis.
so, there is an approved list. So
Uh-huh.
anything outside of that approved list is, guess what? Not approved,
Right.
right? And it could be bad for us. So
Right.
like, we had some serious health issues. We had some serious problems in 2023 with companies producing contaminated products. But I can sit here today and smile and say that out of all the things that we've tested in 2025, I think we've had maybe 3 or 4 fails
Yeah.
for pesticides.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Compared
That's
to
wonderful.
2020, I
Yeah. Right. Right.
But yeah, we do need to, reinitiate that pesticide panel expansion, but it needs to be the correct expansion panel for us.
Right. That's exactly
That's my
right.
point on that. So,
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great, and I think that, that we get the right stacks of paper. What kind of my goal is after wrapping up signature gathering for 837 is to revisit that and put on paper what we want.
Right.
That's what we didn't go into permanent rules with last year, because again, we only had so much notice, right? But to basically go in and say, okay, we see what you got. Here's what we would like to see. And then see if they adopt that into the permanent rules before they give it to lawmakers. And, that is something they have all the power in the world to do. So we'll see. We'll see what that looks like. But yeah, we definitely. I think we can all, get past that, and then, of course, the issue from there is, let's say we get the list. Okay, that's good. The we have to make sure the implementation as well, and the difficulty we've got and the concern that I've got right now is that as we expressed this time last year, we had concerns about that QC lab being up and running. So again, and with our lab director, our longtime lab director, Lee Rhodes, retiring, say I think January 1st is his last day. January, okay, so there's almost a reset on the institutional knowledge of a lot of things at OMMA. And so where does that leave us,
There, you know what I mean? And so and he did say that they would have the QC lab finished and built out before he retired in January. But come on, we're at the end of October.
We
You're
were
telling
told that
me
we were
you're
told
having
we were
65,
told well, and I get that it's not easy, especially through state government, but here's the deal. 2 years ago we were told January. Yeah, yeah, right. Now we know better, so we just take it with a grain of salt, but that's why, and again, if we had not pushed back on that March 1st, 2026 deadline to be ready, we wouldn't be there. And that would unfortunately seize up everything.
to make sure that Med Portal is working correctly before they, push the transition on the industry. That was I was a little shocked. I was like, oh, okay, they're actually going to wait and see if something works correctly first.
Yeah, no, and that was good to see. And one thing that's been going on is that the Oklahoma State Ethics Commission that handles all campaign finance reporting, they actually have been working to update from the Guardian system, which is I mean, y'all, is so bad for decades. Okay, but they were updating on it, and they were working to update on it, and oh, I see food. Yeah, obviously immediately distracted. So here's the see it now. I totally lost it. Isn't that awesome? Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. So bad. But
Our bellies are
wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
House Party Pizza, guys. Do you hear that? Come over and check out House Party Pizza. I think that might be basil. I gotta take that off just because it might be basil, it might be spinach. I don't know. Mm. All right.
Let's go to break. We're gonna eat.